Tonight we're going to look at this sample I got from Liquor Loot of the Amber Lane Equinox single malt Ausskey Australian whiskey. When I read the tasting notes, it mentioned baklava. Colour me intrigued. Let's do it. This is Whisky. I'm John Chidgey. Always remember to drink responsibly in moderation and where and when appropriate. Feel free to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and visit engineer.network/whisky, without the E, to learn how you can support the show. Thank you. You can get a full-size bottle of this from the Amber Lane website for $139 Australian plus shipping, and they state that this is a small batch release whiskey, but there's no mention of how many bottles, so probably a fair number. It was first released in early 2023 and marketed as part of a new core bottle range from the Amber Lane Distillery, alongside their other core bottle range offerings, Destiny and Liquid Amber. It was available at Dan's since 2023 as a marketplace item, but they've been out of stock for a while now. This has a 46% ABV, it has no age statement, and Amber Lane's distilling ethics clearly state that their offerings are never chill filtered, hence, it's not chill filtered either. Since the bottle and website don't mention colouring at all, it's generally a sign that colouring probably was added. I can't find anything definitive one way or the other. We're going to assume that it's probably coloured though for the sake of this review. Now this whiskey's matured in a combination of ex-PX and ex-Apera, in other words, ex-sherry and also ex-bourbon barrels. That they note that their PX barrels are from Europe and their ex-bourbons are mainly from Heaven Hill in Kentucky. Another thing they suggest is that they use large format barrels, and given their list of ethics, they state a preference for using 200 litre or 250 litre barrels rather than the small barrels that are generally want to make the whiskey age more quickly. And whilst there is no age statement, one interviewer noted that the elements are matured for more than 4 years, but most of their offerings are aged between 3 to 4 years, which suggests that this is as well. Amber Lane Distillery was founded in 2017 by Rod Berry and Phil Townsend, and they launched their first products in April of 2022, which is pretty recent. They're located in the Yarramalong Valley, just west of Wyong on the central coast of New South Wales, which is about an hour and a half's drive from Sydney. Well, I mean, depending on traffic and if you feel like paying $500,000 in road tolls to use the tunnels to escape the CBD of Sydney. Never mind. They use an Australian designed and built 3,600 litre steam jacket copper still that they call the Mary Rose, cool name, made by Burns Welding in New South Wales. Burns actually quickly became making a name for themselves in Australia as the go-to still manufacturer in the distillation segment. And this particular still design was based on one of the stills found at the Springbank Distillery in Campbelltown in Scotland. Unlike some of the newly opened craft distilleries that put out their whiskies quite young to cover that investment to payback gap, they held off for about 4 or 5 years before releasing their first whiskies to the market. They've already had quite a broad portfolio to address different whiskey market segments. And unlike some distillers, Amber Lane doesn't do its own brewing in-house. It contracts this to a brewery, they say 30 minutes away in Arena, to provide them with the wash that they then distill. It's probably the Six String Brewing Company, but they don't mention them by name. Either way, doesn't matter. The Equinox recently won a bronze medal in the non-age statement section of the World Whiskies Awards for 2024, with 2 gold medals as well at the 2024 Royal Sydney Distilled Spirits Show and at the 2023 Australian Distilled Spirits Awards. Their website talks about their casks being perfectly balanced, which is nice, but they also say, and I quote, "This whiskey will especially please those who love a whiskey full of flavour, but without the power of a strong alcohol content." End quote. I mean, 46% is stronger than the average whiskey generally, but compared to most cask strengths, it's really not strong. Everything's relative, I suppose. Anyway, so the Amber Lane website, they have some tasting notes, and they go like this. On the nose, glorious. I like how that starts. Glorious honeyed pastries, baklava. That's got me interested. Rosewater and toffee. On the palate, richly opulent with raisins and honey, cinnamon, Werther's Original. Okay, that's a Werther's Original lolly. Okay, interesting. Vanilla and cola. And the finish is long and satisfying. Well, if all the other stuff on the palate's that good, it sounds pretty satisfying. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? Jeez, I'm just going to have to try this. So for the color, I'd say that's more of a sort of a deep copper at most. Certainly on the darker side, but not ridiculously dark. Now, I hope that's coming through. Those legs, they are super slow around one side. There's a couple trickling down the front there. Slow, wide, around the back. They're very slow to get going. And they're just starting. I almost need a time lapse to capture this. This is ridiculous. It's super, super slow. Okay. Let's see what we get on the nose. I know it's probably suggestive, but I'll be buggered. I can smell baklava. I can smell it. No way. Ooh, baby. Toffee. Lots of honey. Oh, that's so delightfully smell. That's a delightful smell. I mean, jeez. Like I said, this sounds horrible. I mean, come on. All right. I'm pumped to try this. This is just a shot. Wow. Okay, wowee. That's... Again, whoever did these tasting notes seriously nailed the Werther's Original. That tastes just like it's not all Werther's Original, but you can definitely taste that in it. And cola. I'll be buggered. I can taste cola in that. And not a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi Max cola, you know, like a old school cola. You know, old school cola. God. Like a generic brand cola. It doesn't taste like Coca-Cola, for goodness sake. It's just a cola. Maybe like a cola flavored cordial. A cola flavored cordial. That's what it tastes like. That's just dandy. I'm done. Wow. Cool. Okay. Let's talk about the mouthfeel for a second. It's not as thick and creamy as I thought it might be. It is definitely a little bit on the buttery side. Maybe not quite oily, but it's got a bit of butteriness to it. You can chew on it a little bit, like there's a little bit of... get that residual afterwards, and I do like that in a mouthfeel. Like if it's in the anywhere from the oily to buttery creamy section of the spectrum for mouthfeel, and I'm a sucker for that for sure. But I mean, I know what I like. Well, now I do, but I'm getting better at telling. But I mean, it's in that regard, it is nice. It's not the best in that regard that I've ever had, but it certainly is pretty decent. I just can't get over that cola and that Werther's Original lolly kind of a flavored taste to it. It's unlike any... I don't remember ever having a whiskey that tasted quite like this. On the finish, I mean, they say it's long and satisfying. I mean, satisfying? Yes. Long? No. I would say this would be probably short to moderate finish. But that's fine. That's fine. It is quite an interesting whiskey. There is no doubt about that. And I really don't mind this at all. It is quite delightful. They talk about rosewater. I'm not getting rosewater, but that's okay. Rosewater is not a strong flavor, a strong scent anyhow. You'd have to be pretty amazing to pull that out. Wow, that baklava smelled crazy. Okay. I've got to stop drinking that and start rating it. Cola in a whiskey. That's weird. I know they didn't add it, but I mean, geez. It's cool. That's cool. All right. Goodness me. So where do we begin? We got to start with cost. So this is a 2. It's affordable for good whiskey. It's not over the top. It's in the middle of the range of the 2 bracket. It is affordable for good whiskey. Quality, I do not have to think about it. It is a 3. It is absolutely a 3. It is a solid 3. It's a high 3 even. I'm quite impressed. I am quite impressed with that. It makes me smile. It is a very pleasant drink, and it is different from anything I've ever tasted, in a good way, in a very, very good way. So that therefore makes it a green, which is great. Green is honestly, I mean, generally keep some of these on hand. I mean, honestly, I would seriously consider getting a bottle of this. It's delightful and different. And when I look at, like, when do I fill out, get bottles of this, too expensive or not? Is it going to be an everyday thing, or is it something that I was going to keep for a special occasion? I want there to be variety, because I don't have any interest in collecting hundreds of bottles of whiskey. I only want to pick a few out of each of the segments and enjoy them. I don't want them to sit there for years and just look at them. Whiskey is there to be drank and enjoyed. And so I like this because it's different, because it is so certainly in my travels so far, it is unique, and I really quite like it. So thank you, Amber Lane. Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this. Cheers. See you next time. Oh, baklava cola.